I don't know what I'm doing here, but in this video I have 8 YouTube video hacks for you. So we got 8 tips, 6 to improve the visual quality of your videos and 2 to improve the audio. Let's go. So my first tip is to put your camera simply on a book or something like that and then slide it around to shoot smooth and awesome looking B-roll and product shots. And that directly brings us to the second tip, which is to use a foreground object, for example a trash can, so that you can slide the camera behind at the end of the first shot. And then when you want to get a shot of another product or so on, you simply put it to the other side so that you start behind the foreground object, and then you can use that for a smooth transition by using a speed ramp at the end of the first clip and at the beginning of the second clip. But you can not only slide the camera, you can also slide the light to make the shot more interesting. So let's do that. I will turn that away and then I reveal the drone. Looks awesome, right? And my next tip is on how to always get perfect skin tones and colors in your videos, and it's actually very easy. You just need a daylight like that, but it can also be a cheap light bulb with daylight temperature of 5500 Kelvin, and then you simply set your camera's white balance also to 5500 Kelvin or the daylight preset, and that ensures that your skin tones are always right and that the surrounding colors also look right. Like for example here you see I have a pretty warm light in the background, and you can see the background is warm or yellow, and also the right side of my face is yellow, which is actually how it looks in reality. And on the left side you see I have the daylight, and therefore my skin tones also look realistic. So by lighting it up and setting your white balance like that, you always ensure that it looks right. And here's a $20 lighting tip for YouTube. You see the backlight there, and backlight is a technique that is oftentimes used in cinema movies to create these reflections around the body, which makes it look more dynamic. And this is actually not a professional video light, it's just a normal desk lamp that I use there, which costs around $20. So you don't need a professional video light to create that, you can just use a cheap light to create this look. And my next tip is when you shoot handheld B-roll to simply shoot in a higher frame rate than you publish in, because that allows you to slow it down in post, and that makes your footage look smoother. Because even if you have a camera that has inbuilt stabilization like my Fujifilm X-T4 has, when you shoot handheld it oftentimes doesn't look perfectly smooth, and by slowing it down in post it looks a lot better. So let's get a shot here in 60p. I publish in 24p later, so I can slow it down to 40%. As you can see, the shot definitely doesn't look bad straight out of camera when I don't slow it down, but when I slow it down, it looks a lot smoother. And you can also shoot in higher frame rates like 120p, because that allows you to slow it down even more, like 25% or 20% depending on your exporting frame rate. And 120p makes it very smooth. So let's come to the audio tips, and my first tip here is to bring the microphone as close as possible to your mouth, because then your voice separates more from background noises and it generally sounds a bit fuller. And you can easily do that by using a super wide angle lens like the 10 to 18mm. What I'm using here right now, I'm actually a bit too close, and I'm at 10mm, which equals about 15mm on a full frame camera. So full 15-16mm is great for that. And let's do a quick test here. When I zoom in to 18mm and I go a bit farther away, you can clearly hear the difference. The audio is not as good as it was before. And there's actually a technique which is called boom mic, and that means that you put the microphone above your head pointing to your mouth, as I do here right now. So that also puts the microphone closer to you, and therefore you get better audio. And to get the very best audio, especially in rooms with a lot of room tone, you can also bring it very close to your mouth, as I do right now, but then you sometimes get pop sounds. Here you would use a pop filter for that, like I have here on this microphone. Pop, 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 pop. And one other tip that improves your audio a lot is to use simple blankets instead of soundproofing. As you can see, I use one blanket here behind my camera to get rid of the reflections from the wall, and I also use a second blanket that I've attached to a studio background holder here to get rid of even more reflections coming back from the room. So that really helps a lot to get rid of the room tone. So which of those tips was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, if this video was helpful, don't forget to subscribe for upcoming videos I publish every week. See you in the next one.